Music. Who can live without it? It drives our lives and stirs our hearts. It gets us through the day. It makes every movie and show infinitely better. I mean, we're pretty fortunate that this beautiful staple of life is also one that we find pleasurable. Which makes you think, what if it wasn't? What if the inescapable sound of song was a plague? What if every melody was banana phone? Huh? Did you think of that? I'm DreyOfTheDead, and it's time to feed your head. So, Stacey Gale was a 22-year-old woman like any other. She lived in Queens, New York, and she loved concerts, parties, music. She was active in her church choir. But on March 3rd, 2005, that all sort of changed for her. She ended up having a seizure while she was asleep in bed. Her mom rushed her to the emergency room where she was stabilized, but after brain scans and blood tests, they still had absolutely no idea what exactly caused the incident. The second occurrence happened at a friend's barbecue. She blacked out, fell to the floor, and began convulsing without warning. After which she was diagnosed with epilepsy, but her triggers remained ambiguous. Doctors prescribed her medication, but nothing helped, and for 2 years, Stacey was at the whim of random seizures, sometimes up to 10 per day. So, in order to narrow down her triggers, she was admitted to an epilepsy monitoring unit. The idea was to let her have seizures freely, so they could be tracked and studied. For 4 days, she wore an electrode-studded cap, which monitored her brainwaves. They took her off her medications, no seizures. They kept her awake for long hours, no seizures. By this point, Stacey has had it. She's like, I'm not gonna wait around for another seizure to happen. I have a life to live. And the next day she was supposed to fly to Jamaica, so she's like, give me my iPod back, I'm leaving. She goes home, scrolls through her iPod, finds Sean Paul's Temperature, puts it on repeat, and falls asleep. And has 3 seizures that night. The next day, she makes her way to JFK Airport, but as she's approaching her gate, she hears the same Sean Paul song blaring from a nearby airport bar, and she never makes it on the flight. But after that, it all starts to make sense. That day at the barbecue, she remembered that Temperature came on just before she blacked out. So, if you're not familiar with Sean Paul, which, I mean, if you're not, I get it, but also, like, you probably live under a rock. Sean Paul is a Jamaican dancehall singer, and Temperature was like the hottest thing in 2005. Honestly, it was catchy. I was not, you know, a huge Sean Paul fan at the time. I was into lots of other weird shit, like, you know, Korn. I don't know. So let me break down for you what the lyrics are to this song so that you can better understand, and especially because Sean Paul has a very thick Jamaican accent, and I honestly could not sing the song to you and get it right, so I'm gonna read to you the lyrics so that we both can understand just what this song is about. It starts, "The gal dem skillachi, Sean Paul." I don't know what that means. From my understanding, skillachi is a soccer player. So me give it to all girls. Oh, that's so nice, an equal opportunity employer. 5 million and 40 naughty shorty. Baby girl, all my girls, Sean Paul say. And this is the chorus. Well, woman, the way the time cold, I want to be keeping you warm, which I assume means it's winter, girl. You know I got that jacket for you. My body heat is impeccable. I got the right temperature, fee shelter you from the storm. Well, it's a lovely 74 degrees. Oh Lord, gal, I got the right tactics to turn you on, which is just the nicer way of saying, do I make you randy, baby, yeah. And girl, I want to be the papa. You can be the mom. Oh. Which just sounds to me like, I'm gonna be the daddy, you can be the mommy, cause this is baby making music. Uh-oh. You know, how I relate to this song is that I don't produce my own body heat, so I'm cold all the time. And if she's anything like me, she's probably circulationally challenged. So I can't even drink a cold drink on a cold day or I'll start shivering. Sometimes I ask myself, are you even alive? But for Stacey, this reaction started happening for other songs as well. Rihanna's Umbrella and Sean Kingston's Beautiful Girl would cause her to collapse and convulse instantly. Her college classes became impossible to attend, and personalized ringtones were her kryptonite. She had to plead with friends to stop playing Sean Paul songs, and found herself crying outside of malls because she couldn't just go in and shop and eat at food courts. She began to live in fear and put her whole life on hold. She quit her job as a bank customer service rep, she dropped her college courses, and she couldn't attend church anymore. At this point, Stacey was absolutely defeated and decided to seek out medical help from neurosurgeon Dr. Ashesh Mehta, who initially was skeptical of her claims. Musicogenic epilepsy was real, but rare. Only 50 to 100 cases ever existed in the world. In most of those cases, sufferers are triggered by specific music, certain genres, and even voices. But the music itself is not to blame. It's actually the emotional response that the music creates in the brain, and there's usually an unstable network of brain cells that are connected to that emotion. To prove that music was her trigger, Stacey played Sean Paul's Temperature in front of Dr. Mehta and gave herself a seizure on the spot, which is just like the biggest flex that anyone has ever done. Like, all I can see in my head is that she just goes into this neurosurgeon's office and he's like, yeah, I don't believe you. And she's like, you don't believe me? Watch this. I'm sure that that's not the way that that happened, but it is the most gangster thing I've ever heard of. I have so much respect for her just in that moment alone. Generally, when medications prove ineffective for seizures, the only other option you have for relief is usually surgery. In Stacey's case, as drug after drug failed, it became clear that the only hope of returning to any semblance of normality for her was going to be to remove the problem areas in her brain. But Stacey flat out refused. Only 4 other people with musicogenic epilepsy had ever undergone the surgery, and she was terrified of ending up disabled. So in the summer of 2007, when music is at its loudest on the stoops of Queens, she decided to go back to her hometown in Canada. She considered living with the seizures, but after months of being homebound and entirely without music, she became depressed and unhappy with her life. So she finally called Dr. Mehta and said, I want the surgery. Just weeks after her return, the seizure monitoring unit played Temperature to induce an episode, and in 5 seconds Stacey seized, and they were able to detect the problem area in the lower section of her brain, right behind her right ear, in the space that figures out what to do with sounds. They also found hyperactive cells within areas that were related to memory and emotion. From there, Stacey underwent 2 surgeries. In the first, they placed hundreds of electrodes deep within her brain in order to determine the precise areas of removal. And in the second, they removed 2.5 inches of her brain. Yeah. But Stacey now lives seizure-free. She had no mental side effects from the surgery, and she even went back to sing for her church choir. She also went back to school to become a math teacher, and no longer lives in fear of mall music or ringtones.
I can't say I know that song, I'm a Lumberjack, and that's, can you sing me a little bit of I'm a Lumberjack and That's Okay?
I'm a lumberjack and that's okay. I'm a lumberjack, oh no, no way.
That is fantastic.
What's funny is that I probably first read this story back in 2007, and I have not been able to listen to Sean Paul's Temperature without thinking of seizures. And now neither will you. I'm passing the curse on, in accordance with prophecy. Uh-oh! If you enjoyed this strange but true tale, be sure to subscribe and check out previous episodes. We put out new videos every other Friday. Hey, are you eyeing my badass mug? Because if not, you should be. It's actually really great. It's by Bubble Punk. He makes all kinds of rad, friggin' vintage memes and shit. At Bubble Punk on Instagram, I'll leave the link in the description. Go check it out. You can buy some really awesome stuff on his website. If you enjoy blooper reels and behind the scenes footage, you might want to consider joining my Patreon. In fact, I'm doing a video Q&A right now, so if you join, you can ask me almost anything within reason, and I will be answering it via video exclusively for patrons. These are just some of the patrons who make these videos possible. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Be well and stay strange. Well, woman, the way the time cold, I wanna be keeping you warm. I got the right temperature to shelter you from the storm. Oh, girl, got the protector to turn you on. And girl, I wanna be the papa, you can be the mom. Oh, oh.